My tux is pressed. Tonight I'll take you for a ride and show you nothing but the best. High society and brand new cars, VIPs and even movie stars in my limousine. In my limousine. In my limousine. In my limousine. Other luxuries just can't compare. Step inside, I'll take you anywhere in my limousine. Stereo, bar, TV, and VCR, moonroof, telephone, and let me stress the location of the cosmetic lamps. Other luxuries just can't compare. Step inside, I'll take you anywhere in my limousine. In my limousine. In my limousine. Come on. In my limousine. In my limousine.
Hi, I'm Jan Corcamus, a professional chauffeur. I'm going to show you the secrets of chauffeuring that I've learned through my 10 years of experience. So sit back and relax, but get your pencils out because there'll be a test at the end. Roll wheels. The 10 steps to professional chauffeuring. The first thing that I like to go over are the 10 steps of chauffeuring. Now get your pencils out. Step number 1 is a good driving record. Write to your state capital driving record division and obtain copies for yourself and your employer. Sometimes your insurance company is nice enough to give you one for free. The driving record, along with some copies, should be placed inside your chauffeur's manual for future use. This is the first essential tool and is a prerequisite to becoming a chauffeur and obtaining employment. Step number 2 is your chauffeur's license. Contact your State Department of Public Safety to obtain their required qualifications. A copy of this is beneficial to your employer to complete the total documentation and information required for your file. Our office serves as a chauffeur's agency and we require the same documentation. Some extra copies of this record should be placed inside your chauffeur's manual. Step number 3 is your city permit. Now every city is different, so check with your city transportation office to find out their requirements and procedures. For all you who like to take shortcuts, this is it. The way to do it is to combine step number 1, 2, and 3. Your driver's license, your city permit, and your driving record. Put it on a piece of paper and make about 10 copies. Make sure to add your telephone number. Put the extra copies in your manual for future use. Step number 4 is your resume. Now the resume can be a tool to make the employer hire you over someone else. This gives you a professional edge. Always have some extra copies in your manual for other employers and subcontractors. Step number 5 is your application. This saves lots of time when you go to your next interview, plus not having to fill out a form for a half hour gives you confidence to get in the boss's office and show him you're a top-notch chauffeur. Have one already made out with some extra copies in your chauffeur's manual. You can pick a blank up at your office supply to fill it in. Now, step number 6 is your training and experience. This tape is a good first step in the right direction, but by no means is it a substitute for experience. On-the-job training will be your biggest teacher. If you've been driving for a long time, and you've never had much training, it will only help to make you better. It's your first-class ticket to upgrade your standards. Now, a lot of people frown on wearing a hat and gloves, but it sure doubles my tips. Number 7 is your uniform. No jewelry except a watch or wedding band, and a black jacket, pant and glove, hat and tie, a white starched shirt are required. A tux is always the best for formal occasions. A pro always has the name tag on, not in his pocket, showing your first name only. This makes it easier for your client to remember. Nearly 50% of the industry requires a uniform. The other half simply requires a dark suit and tie. Thermal underwear can be worn underneath your uniform, and it helps prevent you to wear an overcoat. I'm going to pull over in just a second, and I'd like to show you something new that I invented. It's not always what you know, it's what you got. And I'm talking about stuff, lots of stuff. Here's my stuff, my Chauffeur satchel. It's something different that I developed to help make the chauffeur more self-sufficient, especially if you work for more than one company or if you work for a very busy limousine service with more than one chauffeur to the limousine that you drive. You're never left stranded without things that you need. And you never have to worry who checked your limousine. It's your better to be safe than sorry kit. Here's a list of some suggested items to make for your Chauffeur satchel. First, your camera and film. A local map of your area. An umbrella, make it small. Some waste paper bags, just the small waste paper bags. Of course, your handy sick bags. Don't leave those at home. A small calculator. Some extra napkins. You never know who stocked your car last. A small package of Woolite. A siphon hose. I've never used it, it's still in the package. Hopefully you'll never have to either. A dustbuster or a whisk broom. Makes an easy cleanup. Some Scotch tape to put the sign on the front windshield for your client. A small Kleenex. Some Windex. Alcohol. Air freshener. These are nice and handy. A page to take with you on airport runs or to find your client in hotel lobbies or restaurants. Extra paper and pen and a driver's receipt book. Bungee cord. Never know when you'll need that. A bandana or a stress flag for help on the road. Handy wipes. Clean up spills. Your chamois. Cloth mitt. Baking soda. This kills sickness odors. Got to have the baking soda. Don't forget it. First time you'll do, you'll regret it. Some flares, in case of an accident. Small fire extinguisher. You don't want to be left without one of those. Carpet Fresh. You can even add that to your ashtrays to keep a nice scent in your limousine. Some stick matches. Fix-A-Flat. Make sure it's the good kind. When you need it, your name tag. Lint remover for your suit, or if someone gets in the back seat with a fur coat on, you can pick up all those little hairs. Some extra clear cups. A funnel. Silicone spray. This helps for the rubber edge around your moonroof or around your windows. It helps them glide a lot better. Some spray mace for protection. A small sewing kit. You never know when that client's lost a button that you can help them out. Some duct tape. A Swiss knife. A flashlight with extra large size D batteries. Very important. Small bottle of Armor All, that's for all your vinyl or your tires. That's something good to do while you're waiting. 2 large garbage bags attached. This is excellent for a temporary cover for the back seat in case they have muddy feet or it's raining outside. You might have a run right after that one, so you'll want the back to be clean. A toothbrush. This is to clean your battery connection. You can also use the baking soda again. Make a paste out of it with water. Use your toothbrush, and you can clean your battery connections real well with that. A wine bottle opener, corkscrew, can opener, screwdriver. Mine just happens to have the extra sizes inside the back. Pair of insulated handled pliers. A heavy-duty tire gauge. Usually your air shocks need a large tire gauge. A Phillips head. Some extra small wire. Some Q-tips. We're getting down to the bottom of this thing. Biofill. Biofill takes the place of a lot of these cleansers, so you can use that. It gets off anything but red wine and Kool-Aid stains. Some extra batteries for your camera or for your beeper. A champagne towel. And a towel. Clean up your spills. Believe it or not, that's not all you need. Here's some things that should be supplied by the company. And the more of these items that you can attain for yourself, the more self-sufficient you'll be. Some business cards of the limousine company you're working for. A credit card slips. American Express, MasterCharge, Visa, whatever they accept. Some itinerary sheets. An insurance card. A large umbrella. Setups like Coke, 7-Up, tonic water, and club soda. Cassette tape and a cassette tape cleaner. Fuses and a fuse puller, and know how to use those. A gas credit card machine, a cooler for the ice, a large fire extinguisher, touch-up paint, a video and a video cleaner, and a heavy-duty jumper cable. Have a chart of the fuse box of the limousine you're driving. Know how to disconnect the bar and the moonroof and the solid partition. The solid partition fuse should be pulled unless you know the client will not damage your limousine. The last thing I need in my bag of tricks is something to make those extra 50s and 100s. My very own special VIP kit. You might have hand lotion inside, some mints, some cigarettes, maybe some gum, stir sticks, lemon squeezer, and a lime. Believe it or not, it really helps. Here's an item that's not very exciting, but it's very important. Perhaps one of the more important things. Step number 9 is your chauffeur's manual. A black spiral notebook, preferably 3-ring, makes the perfect reference book. At your fingertips, you'll have all your credentials. Here's how to put yours together. It's easy. Your state driving record, your chauffeur's license, your city permit, your resume and application, your Be a Chauffeur seminar certificate, and your Be a Chauffeur book. These papers should be placed in plastic sleeves for protection. Some extra blank paper is good to have to make a sign to display the limo company name so the client can find you at the airport terminal or hotel lobby. A list of frequent stops such as airports, both commercial and private, country clubs, sports arenas, churches, nightclubs, shopping malls, restaurants, hospitals, funeral homes, specialty shops, and hotels. Whew, it's a long list. A list of maintenance phone numbers for the limousine is best to have in your manual as well, such as record service, the car wash, and a service station. One last thing that's extremely important to have is a state driver's handbook to get the facts on the law, a guidebook of the city, and an updated guide for each week as to what is going on in your town. You can usually find that in your weekend newspaper. The final step is to have a calendar with a flexible schedule, step number 10. The calendar is for your convenience in notating dates that you're booked to work and also to remember busy times of the year. Hopefully you can run a year or week at a glance, particularly you part-timers. Remember the golden words to the employer is, I'll be on call. Job interviews. I'm just getting ready to call for an appointment for an interview, and I think it's important that you know how. Listen up. Hello, personnel department, please. Hello, this is Jane Corcamus, and I'm a chauffeur. Yes, I'd like to come by and present myself to you and your company. I have quite a few qualifications. I have my chauffeur's license, I have my city permit, and my driving record. Yes, I have a resume and application. I do have professional training and experience. My uniform, chauffeur satchel, chauffeur's manual, and I have a flexible schedule. Eliminate the ones that you don't have and get time for an appointment. Would Thursday be okay? Then morning or afternoon. If that doesn't work, ask him what day is good for him. Okay, 8 a.m. Saturday. All right. Thank you, and have a nice day. Bye-bye. Saturday morning when I arrive to the interview, I know this is what he'll be looking for. Stability, attentiveness, be on time, cheerful, organized, and look excellent. I'll make sure and wear my uniform, and I'll take my certificate of training, my chauffeur's manual, and my chauffeur's satchel. And before I leave his office, I'm going to make sure of my salary. The itinerary. This is the itinerary, and I'd like you to be familiar with it. Here, let's go over it together. First, you should circle the day. Then fill out the date, the person's name, address, of course the city, state, and zip code. Zip codes are important. Who it was ordered by, and the chauffeur's name. If it was subcontracted out to another limousine company, add their name. Their home phone number, work phone number, and the phone number where the client will be 30 minutes prior time, which is called the reconfirm number. Get enough approval to cover the charge, and I always do just a little bit over. He's paying by a credit card. If it were cash or check, you would put it there. The customer's full name, including the middle initial, and the credit card number and the expiration date. Here's your instructions. So we'll start at 6 o'clock p.m. and we'll pick him up at 6:30 p.m. That gives us 30 minutes garage time. The pickup will be at 3624 Beverly Drive, and we'll take him to the Mansion Restaurant, and into the Governor's home, and return him to 3624 Beverly Drive at 1 o'clock a.m. 30 minutes later will be 1:30 garage time. The miles when you started, the miles when you finished, and the total miles for the evening. What kind of limousine that they wanted? He had a stretch with the VIP package, which is $55 per hour. So we place it here. The rate per hour times the amount of hours equals, plus your 20% gratuity equals, and any kind of service charge. Remember we had him park right out front and there was a fee? $5. The total of charges would be $500. He prepaid, so the balance was $0. Make sure that you get the customer's signature when you arrive. Tips. Before you get started chauffeuring all over town, there are a few things that you should know. So first, make a trial run to get gas or wash the limousine. Take the owner to the bank or to a casual business lunch where he would have time to show you some of the local alternative routes to or around the main highways and thoroughfares. In the first few days, you will hear a lot of do's and don'ts, such as do slow down and don't hurry. But remember, when in doubt, check it out. Watch for no parking areas and spaces that are too small. Obstacles and pedestrians are big hazards also. Avoid having to back up. Try and park so you can pull out straight ahead and make the block instead of attempting a U-turn. Keep a window cracked to hear horns and commands or trains. Stop at railroad tracks. Anticipate stops and holes in the road, water puddles and gravel. Be careful where you park for the client to disembark. You don't want to have to polish their shoes. Have $20 in your pocket for change, parking, tolls, you know, the usual. This can be reimbursed to you later. Keep your receipt though. Make a diagram of the armrest on the driver's door panel and study it. It is complicated. Seat switches and mirror adjustments and window locks, but the most important switch is your door lock. Know where your extra set of keys are at all times. On your first real job, make it an easy one. Be sure to have the exact itinerary so you will not be bothered with which way to go. The route depends on the client. If he has a lot of free time at hand, let him see the sights, take him on the scenic route, and be sure not to exceed the speed limit. Stay under the speed limit by 5 miles per hour. For example, go 30 miles per hour if the speed limit is posted at 35. If the client is in a hurry, don't speed, just stay on it. Duck the traffic and know the alternative routes. The shortcuts are usually the opposite way of the normal route. When going to a major event, check with your dispatcher to see if there is a way to avoid the main flow of traffic. The big tip, make sure and get this one because it's on your test. Always stay one step ahead of the client by asking him when he gets out of the limo, "Sir, where will you be going next?" While he's away, you can map out the next location. Look the location up on the map or call the dispatcher at the garage. Some of the places these VIPs want to go are special places with no sign out front, and some restaurants are so elite that they have an unlisted phone number. Whatever you do, if you are lost, call the dispatcher from the car phone. If you do not have a phone in the car, tell the client that you have to call the office and that it is urgent. Get the phone book out and call for directions. Be discreet and do something to disguise the fact that you are lost. Never tell a client this is your first run or you have just started. This makes them very critical of your job, and they most always will complain about getting a beginner, even if the job was fantastic. Shortcuts are found, not mapped out, so search them out. In this field, a bellman, valet, or doorman are always good sources of information and direction. A concierge is always a good help when you are stopped at a hotel or center. Leave a business card wherever you go. You never know when your service can help them. Normally, it is an automatic dismissal for giving out your home phone number or beeper number. The connection should always be made through the limousine service to ask for you again. A day in the life of a chauffeur. Put your pencils down. Sit back and relax. I'm going to tell you a little story that happened to me one time, and I may throw in a few things that'll help you in the long run. It was Friday afternoon, about 4:30 to be exact. My tux was pressed already, and my shoes were polished before my run on Friday. I'd called the garage and asked the dispatcher if there was anything I needed to do beforehand. She said just a general check and take the mileage and phonodometer reading as usual. I said, okay, thanks, I'll be at the garage early, leaving no space for something to go wrong. I really didn't know what shape the limousine would be in because it had been in the shop for 4 days. But back in my mind as I was driving, I knew the windows would be glazed with dust. Sure enough, they were. I walked around the car once, checking for low air in the tires, dirty white walls, smudged chrome, scars and nicks, and you know that good old vinyl roof mold. Just a general check. To my pleasant surprise, the ice was already in the passenger compartment ice bin, and extra ice was in the trunk cooler. The setups were one of each: cola, 7-Up, club soda, and tonic water in the passenger compartment, and a 6-pack of each was in the trunk, along with extra cups, napkins, Kleenex, cocktail peanuts, after-dinner mints, trash, and emergency bags, business cards, even a couple of magazines and newspapers. Whew. Now that's a touch of class for the clients. I took a minute to check the maps and go over the itinerary and make one quick call to reconfirm with the client and tell him I'm on my way. I placed a card on the bar that said, "Happy birthday, Bob Jones." 10 minutes later, I arrived at the client's house and greeted him. "Hello, I'm Jan with Limousines by Jan. Happy birthday." I made sure that the payment was handled professionally. Looking down at the itinerary, I noticed a few things were missing, like a mailing address and business phone. This indicated that my client was in a rush. He didn't give the dispatcher much time. I asked and gave it a second shot. I said, "Sir, could I take a little information from you? The limousine service would like to put you on their mailing list so you would know when they're having specials and such." He was paying with a credit card, so I asked him for his card and his driver's license. And then I told him just sign the voucher and also sign the itinerary. Said, "If that's all for now, sir, I'll be at the car with it warmed up and the door open. Is there anything that you'd like me to take to the limousine for you?" When I got the customer in the car, I introduced him to the limousine, showing him all around. The ice, the TV, the video recorder, the window switches, the moonroof, the radio, the intercom. And let me stress the location here of the cosmetic lamps. I left one of them on, and he could turn it off whenever he was ready, and I pointed the switch. I gave him all my business cards, so in case of emergency, they could get a hold of the office. I gave all the ladies a fresh red rose. We hit it off great. Quick walk around the rear of the vehicle, checking to be sure everybody's door was shut tight, and we were ready to roll wheels. I proceeded to push the door buttons down, and I asked him if he was pushed for time. He said, "No, take your time." So with a steady hand on 10 and 2, my chin up, my shoulders back, I pushed the accelerator, causing the limousine to glide, not to jerk. Acting cordial and always using proper protocol and etiquette, I asked if they were comfortable. They said, "Sure, Jan, we're having a great time." So I handed them my VIP box, and they could use whatever they wanted to out of it. And I was real careful about stepping on the brakes because they all had drinks. As we reached the stop, I pulled away from the curb so they wouldn't trip. And I extended my hand so that they could get out of the back seat. I asked Bob, "Hey, Bob, do you want me to park right up front in the limelight? Because there's a fee, you know." He said, "Sure, I want my car right up front." Then I said, "Where will you be going next?" So I'd make sure to map it out. and I told him to tell his waiter when he was getting his bill so that the car would be queued and pulled up properly. Anyway, a little while later, my beeper went off twice. It was the dispatcher telling me that the maitre d' had called from the restaurant and Bob Jones was ready to come out. When he came out, boy, he was walking in double time. There was 25 people flocked all around him asking for his autograph and asking him questions. I said, could you back up, please, and stay away from the limousine and let Mr. Jones in? We don't want to cause any damage to anyone or cause a problem with the limousine. He got in and he hit the door locks. He said, Jan, follow that car quick. We won't lose them. They'll wait for us at a light. We're going to the governor's mansion for a real elite party with diplomatic figures there. He said, wait by the car and do not leave your vehicle because I'll send word to you by the butler when I'm ready to go. My wife might want to fly in and I'll want you to go pick her up. Wow, what an evening. His birthday was excellent. Dinner, mansions, autographs, governors. But the thing that he liked most is he got to see his wife. And she was the one that he suggested the limousine. He said, Jen, I haven't used a limousine in a long time, but I'm going to call on you real soon because I had an excellent time. You gave such a special touch, the magazines and the mints. We're going to keep the limousine long enough to watch Entertainment Tonight and see if they announce my birthday. Anyway, I wanted to ask him for his autograph, but you're not supposed to do that. I figured maybe he'll give it to me as a tip. I got him and his friends home at the final destination. I tallied up the phone, the miles, gave him his receipt. Anyway, he said, Jan, thanks a lot, and he handed me my tip. I pocketed it, and I told him, sir, there is a gratuity on the bill. He said, no problem. You deserved every bit of it. You're a great chauffeur. And look what I got. Safety. One of the biggest concerns in our industry today is safety. I'm going to go over some of the safety rules that you should watch for. Have a map that's current all the time with you. And pay attention to symbols such as things for railroads and creeks and bridges. So if there's no street signs where you're going, at least you'll know where you are. Don't start out or leave before you know where you're going. Don't just think you know, be sure that you know. Saves you a lot of dead time and dead miles. Don't risk speeding. Be careful not to cross the intersections without double checking. Avoid not coming to a complete stop at a sign. Always look each way for a second and in your blind spot. Look over your shoulder, not simply side to side. Always choose the path of least resistance and keep consistent. This is known as stabilizing. Remember that. Hitting somebody from the rear is very common. Side swipes are also a major cause of damages and normally are found to be the chauffeur's fault because they had bad judgment of space. Try to use the phones at a safe time. When at a complete stop is usually the best time. Be careful, even phones can be a source of accidents. If you see two hazards at the same time, you should separate and handle one at a time. Make a reasonable compromise between the space and time. Keep adjacent space called the cushion space between yourself and all the other traffic, all the way around the vehicle. When you're passing a vehicle, you could be forced off the road, so make sure that no obstacles are in the way. Tap your horn if you need to. Avoid conflicts with passing cars. Slow down, let them pass first. Never serve alcohol unless you know it is legal. This is one area you need to be sure of the current laws. The owner or manager of the company that you work for might not always be aware of them. When a car has the blinkers on, just assume that they might turn. Don't predict he will turn. Normally you look in another direction to plan your move and the car in front of you doesn't turn. This is a major hazard to be aware of. If a car has his turn signal on, don't think he's ready to turn. Wait until the turn is actually made and completed. Learn to anticipate the stops. Watch the signal in front of you. If one has been green for a long time, predict that it may change before or as you arrive at it, and slow down in order to allow for a continuous, smooth ride. Encourage defensive driving. Yield at green lights and right-of-ways. A quick look is always the right decision. 1/3 of all of our businesses involve driving. I'm going to give you some figures. In fatalities, we have over 55 to 60,000 a year. Injuries are about 2 million and more. And the cost, I don't know, they're in the billions. Most drivers who are average drivers end up in those statistics. Your odds of being one of those average drivers are about 50-50. Driving is a skill that can be improved. Do everything you can to make yourself the better than average driver. In case of an emergency or accident, here's what you need to do. First, grab a pencil and paper and never take the blame. Number 2, your insurance company says to never accept the blame. Number 3, take witnesses, their names and addresses and phone numbers, license numbers from passing cars and names of people passing or standing by. Number 4, take the license of the car, driver's license, name, address, phone number of the people and other cars involved. Number 5, call the police. Number 6, take a picture. Use that camera and film wisely. Number 7, of course, always call an ambulance first if anyone is hurt, or have somebody else call for you so you can take care of your responsibilities. Number 8, make a drawing and list the time and location of the accident. When making a decision concerning driving and avoiding hazards, the logical choice is most likely the correct one. Then decide next what is best. The 4 basic steps to avoid hazards are, now remember these, they're on your test. Number 1, identify a possible hazard. Number 2, predict what might happen. Number 3, decide the best way to avoid it. And number 4, execute what you decided to do. Become familiar with everything you can about your limousine so in case of a problem on the road, you can do repairs on the spot. Before leaving your garage, go over your checklist and adjust all 3 mirrors. Here's your checklist. Air in the tires. Make sure that they're properly inflated. Air in the rear shocks. Water in the radiator. Make sure your antifreeze level is proper. Water in the battery. The blue solution in the windshield wiper container. Your transmission fluid, and make sure your engine is running when you check that. And your power steering fluid. You can check your limousine during the job. It's a good idea that the company supply you with their checklist to put the receipts with it or to mark out each item as you've checked it. You should record the mileage on the odometer with each inspection. Did you know that your limousine has a personality? Get to know your limo. When inspecting your limo, always do it on a level surface. And wear an apron or smock if you're in uniform so you don't get dirty. When cleaning the exterior of your limousine, you should only wash it with a cloth mitt, rinse, and then use a chamois to dry. Use a towel on the fender when checking the hood or a hood skirt. Make sure that the attendant at the service station or center follows these rules. A hood skirt, newspaper or plastic on the seat and the floorboard, reminding him about grease or oil stains. More tips. One of the biggest questions that I get asked is, what do you do while you're waiting? Well, I phone in just to let the dispatcher know that the job is going smoothly and that I've collected the money professionally. I call the office again at the final destination. Then I go through the drop-off checklist. I never just sit there with the limo running and all the switches on, nor do I just sit there with the auxiliary on. When not driving a client, you should try to conserve energy. Your boss knows when you're trying to help him save money. Once when I was going over my checklist and doing a few extra things like putting Armor All on the wheels and all over the vinyl, another chauffeur walks up and asked about my uniform, my hat, and my gloves. He also asked who I worked for and how much I made. He even asked me over to his limousine to have a drink and watch TV. I thanked him for his offer, but told him I needed to restock the ice setups and finish a few more little things like putting in after-dinner mints. I always want everything to be just right with a little touch of magic for the big tips. The next thing is the 3 ways to pick up a client. The first way is the eyeball. That's when you simply just keep a watch on the door. You feel like your eyeballs are popping out. This is probably the worst technique and usually the one most used in services. The second way is the cue. That's the best way. You get a maitre d', a waiter, or the doorman to alert you when the client is getting his bill. You need to set this up in advance with the place of business you're patronizing, especially if it's raining. You don't want your client standing there waiting for you to get started and pull up. The third way is the 15-minute. Give the customer a card, have him simply to call the office 15 minutes before he's getting his party ready to leave. The limousine company can beep the chauffeur or contact the chauffeur by the car phone. The chauffeur pulls to the door, opens the passenger compartment door, standing at attention. Within seconds, the client appears, and it's strictly VIP. At the last drop-off, the end of the run, I call into the dispatch and take one last look for damages and belongings and go over the destination drop-off checklist. I'll get to that in just a minute. Be sure the windows are rolled up and the car's locked, along with the moonroof closed all the way. Go inside the passenger compartment and close the cloth panel of the moonroof, just to be sure. About the only time that I leave my chauffeur's satchel behind is on an airport trip. Some crazy job with 8 passengers and luggage. You know the runs where they think that you have an expandable U-Haul in the trunk? On an airport run, just call ahead and never leave your limo. At private airports, drive slowly in the plane area and never go under a plane wing. No smoking in these areas. Keep a watch for plane wingtail numbers so you can go and meet your clients. Your name tag comes in handy here. The private airfield does not question your employment. Be ready for questions about the town, since the client may have been away for a while or he's new in town. How about up front where I'm going to spend most of my time? I have the maps of the town, a guide for entertainment, dining for the week, some credit card vouchers, a credit card machine, a pen and some paper, the insurance card, scotch tape to put the sign up on the window, a pick or fork to get the cigarettes out of the ashtray, the telephone manual so I can lock and open the phone. Keep the phone on when the limo is off. Know how to clock or recall the minutes, and have the clipboard and calculator with the itinerary on it. If you decide to call and reconfirm with the client by calling first, be careful because the limousine could be a gift. If the occasion is a wedding, have the clients enter on the opposite side in order to avoid getting rice thrown in the limousine. When welcoming the client into the limo, try to sit the leader of the group on the back seat behind the chauffeur so he can be seen in the rear view mirror from the driver's seat. Whether it be cash or credit card, take your time in this area, even if the client is in a hurry, and no checks. Here are the steps I take to avoid chargebacks. Call for approval, imprint the charges with the imprinting machine, Never write it by hand. Check the expiration date, check the signature. Credit cards are non-transferable and must be signed with the same name as embossed on the card. The motion of the body, both forward and back, can tell you how to adjust your brake and foot feet. Go slow. This is where your money's made. Turn slow, stop slow, and start slow. Read up on any etiquette and proper protocol at your library. I always check the IDs for the required age when the client brings alcohol, and I never tolerate drugs or misuse of my automobile. Watch out for cigarette smokers. Remember, never leave your limousine or give it to the valet. I'm good about helping my client so they don't have to wait for a reservation or stand in line at a night spot. Simply ask the dorm person what it will take to get your clients inside. Normally they'll respond with a dollar figure, and I simply tell my client. At this point, I return to my limousine and I do the following. My destination drop-off checklist. Very important. Wipe off fingerprints on the windows. Dump your ashtrays, or pick the cigarettes out if baking soda or carpet fresh is in the ashtrays. Pop the mats or rugs or vacuum. Throw out all the trash. Check the ice bin and restock your setups. Put clean glasses in. Use your air freshener. These should be done every time a client disembarks, and again right outside of the final destination, checking for belongings and damages. Consult with your employer for the fees that they charge, especially if it is a leather interior or if you're not aware of the charges. Check the trunk for cameras and anything extra that they might have left behind. Have total control of the limousine. Don't let your clients hang out of the windows or sit on the moonroof. The client who's paid for the service is the only one to sit in the back, and he calls the shots. Don't leave without his permission. Bloopers and blunders. Chauffeur locked keys in the limo or trunk. No second set. Broke keys off in the trunk. Lost keys or dropped the keys. Chauffeur wasn't ready when the client was coming out of the restaurant, club, or office. Chauffeur didn't know which street to choose because there were 10 with the same name, with the exception of the suffix, avenue, drive, etc. Always get the zip code. Chauffeur picks up wrong client at the airport. Chauffeur is without his chauffeur's satchel, so he has no fix-a-flat, umbrella, or corkscrew. Chauffeur gets talked into taking a check. Chauffeur gets a limo and half of the gadgets don't work, so the whole evening is one excuse after another. Chauffeur gives his card on a subcontracted job. Chauffeur leaves his uniform at home and decided he or she will wear their own style. Chauffeur gives his home phone number to a client. No approval was made when the client decided to pay with a different credit card. There was not enough approval made for the amount of the charges on the client's credit card. Client signed credit card with the wrong name. The client doesn't have his credit card, so the chauffeur writes it in on the voucher. The client gets into the limo and tells you his credit card is at the next stop, only to find the next stop is 50 miles away. You arrive taking a risk, only to have the client say he just couldn't seem to find it. Chauffeur pulls over for gas. Chauffeur leaves his sick bags at home. Chauffeur tries to collect from a client who always is billed. The chauffeur cannot wake up his client to get his home address. The limousine owner has to post bail for the chauffeur who carried the client's luggage to the doorstep because it happened to be filled with illegals, like drugs or stolen goods or counterfeit money. Try never to carry the luggage. Test your skills. We're going to take a little test now, but I'm not going to give you the answers. You got to figure them out yourself. Number one, what are the 3 ways to pick up a client? Out of the 3 ways, which is best? What did Jan develop to make the Chauffeur a self-sufficient subcontractor? The Chauffeur's... Your blank should go off twice if someone is trying to reach you, just in case a key was not depressed all the way. What kills sickness odors? A, Raid, B, Chanel No. 5, or C, baking soda? What is a camera and film needed for? A, an accident, B, your client, or C, to take pictures of Morgan Fairchild or the Chippendales? Never serve blank unless you know it is legal to do so. If you are in an accident and it is your fault, admit it at the scene, true or false? How many steps are there to becoming a chauffeur? What are the 4 basic steps to hazard avoidance? And the last one, what is the big tip? Write them down. Check yourself. Well, I hope you did good on the test. Before I say goodbye, I want to let you know that we do offer a complete line of uniforms and supplies. Everything for men and women in the limousine industry. You can also get a videotape or a cassette or the book, Be a Chauffeur. Simply call us at area code 214-327-6616. I'm going to leave you now with a look at the limousines we offer for sale or lease, and we do have financing available. Bye-bye.
Friday afternoon, my shoes are polished, my tux is pressed. Tonight I'll take you for a ride and show you nothing but the